Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, but most importantly, if you would like to join the debate, simply click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. Be sure to mute your watch page before you do so, and when you join the hangout, please say a few words immediately so we know that you're not here for nefarious purposes. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, and this in turn increases the diversity of the panel. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we do have Ali B and Ranty with us. How are you doing, both of you? I know Ali B's not here anymore. How are you doing, Ranty?
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. You?
Yeah, good to have you here. Good show yesterday?
It was, yeah. What, your one or my one?
Your one.
Oh, right, yeah. It was nice to actually get back in the seat, so to speak, because obviously, you know, you get strikes on your channel and you can't live stream, so...
Oh, was that a struck channel then?
Yeah, I had a strike on it that I was trying to sit out, basically.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a brand new channel.
Well, yeah, my old channel got taken, didn't it?
Oh, I see. That was taken completely down. It wasn't just... I see now. Yes.
Yeah, the old channel was taken completely down. This was like my reserve channel. And obviously I started uploading stuff on this channel too, and I got a strike on this, so I couldn't live stream for 3 months.
That's no good. No good at all.
How long have you got on your one?
3 months. Channel? Everyone keeps telling me to appeal it. It's like, well, you know, I'm responsible for what goes on to the channel, so I've now had workarounds to stop people from porn bombing the channel, but at the time I didn't, so it's my fault. You know, publish and be damned, as they say.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's the nature of the channel that you have. It's a platform that can be abused, or could have been abused. You know.
Yeah, well, it's a baptism of fire, though. You know, you learn how to do it and what to do and what not to do as you go along. And even with things like the sun tracking that I did, and it was a completely open link then, it was still, you know, a learning curve to figure out how to stop people from doing nasty things. But you know, I think I've pretty much got it covered. I'm sure I'll be caught out again. That's part of the nature of the show, but it's what keeps it fun for me.
Maybe you should make another backup channel and you know, keep promoting that just in case that you do actually get...
I've got three. I've got three anyway. So my oldest historic channel is called Oakley Cord, then Nathan Oakley, followed by the one that we're now streaming on. So this is actually that channel if you want to look at it in those terms. But Nathan space Oakley is my newest, you know, reserve, backup, whatever you want to call it. But this is the backup channel. And then, but I've got an older channel which is very, very seldom used called Oakley Cord. So yeah, I've got three, right. But they all work. You know, I think the least views one of them has is something like 350, 400,000 views, something like that.
Wow. Quite a lot. I think one of my videos, because I started talking about that Las Vegas stuff, one of them had 600,000 views.
Wow.
In like 2 weeks.
So, and then removed completely.
It was ridiculous. And you know, but you can't talk about that kind of stuff when it's going on.
Nah, not when they're actually doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you sort of like you know that something's not quite right, so you highlight that, and you can't do it when the narrative's being laid. You could probably talk about it now, but you couldn't do it back then.
I think
well, same with 9/11 as well.
Got the link in the chat, and normally it crashes. It hasn't crashed, and it appears to be there on the iPad, so I think the link's there. It should be working, hopefully. Maybe someone will say eventually if they can't get in, but all looks good.
Yeah, I noticed Mick West has had to change his diagram.
Yeah, actually labelled
this channel, basically.
Yeah, good. Make the nonsense a bit less confusing for people.
Yeah. Well, it's retrospective action, really, isn't it? Because that's been up for how long? How long's Mick West had that standard refraction stuff up? About 4 or 5 years, something like that. And it's only through Anthony highlighting the errors in it and the confusion with stuff that he's had to change it. So that would never have come about had he not been on here.
Yeah, there's absolutely no labels on it. It was devoid of any labelling. So you've got all these various different measurements, and they're labelled as A, B, C, F, whatever. But there's nothing on the diagram to indicate what's what. I don't think there
It's
is. I'm
quite
sure
funny.
the
Even
refracted figures are still not on there. And when I was discussing it with Anthony yesterday, I was like, well, no, you're not going to put the refracted figures on. You're not going to put a hologram of the ball next to the real ball. They're just talking about the actual measurements of that ball. And that's what they're going to illustrate, and that's all they illustrate.
yeah, it was selective with the truth.
Did you see the eye level thing in there?
Yes, I did. Yeah, and
Very
he
deceptive.
clearly says visible.
Yeah, they've
Next to
got
the eye, it looks all visible. The drop is visible.
It's like in Chris's demonstration. You know, the way they do it is they have you leaning back, literally tipping back on your ankles, and pointing your camera down at the horizon, looking down at stuff. You have to be. You're looking at stuff on a ball. And then you take into account how much it's being refracted up, and that's your from the hidden value. It's refracted up from that position. However, what they've got in the diagram is this dot 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 with eye level written on it. But then there's another line that's much less distinct that's below it, and that's where the measurements are taken from, looking at the horizon. It's like, well, that's just a deception to trick you into thinking that you are actually doing that when you're not. You know, you're not looking down. Anthony didn't position his camera pointing downwards. He pointed it straight out. He didn't lean backwards because he's on a sphere looking at a target also on a sphere. None of that applies. But they have to put it in the diagram so that you think that it applies.
And then it all goes down to the same old, which is, you know, are you looking at a horizon that's at eye level, or are you actually looking down towards the horizon? You know, and if you get in a plane, I think that answers the question, because the horizon comes up to your eye level in a plane, and you can see for what, 100 miles?
Something like that. A very
You
long
know,
way.
so
How you doing, Ali? Good to have you.
Oh, one sec, mate. Yeah, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
yeah.
No? All right, good stuff. All right.
Hey, got very
I
good
just wanted
connection
to say
today.
good.
I don't know if Anthony's coming in today, is he? Or anybody?
No idea.
No.
Show runs regardless. I mean, there's been shows where I've had silence for half an hour. I just go up and make a cup of coffee, you know, play with my kid.
I think it's when he's had a good feast of baller lies, and he gets full up on all these baller lies, he gets a bit of indigestion the following day. So I think that's why sometimes it doesn't show. But obviously this Mick West stuff, he's blown that out of the water, so he's probably feeling quite full. Bit of indigestion, baller indigestion.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that was speak of the devil.
Speak of the devil, and he shall be here. Be here.
Yeah, no spam in
Let
the
me
chat,
check
please.
out where my other sound is coming from. Hang on a sec. Oh no, I think I've muted it. Maybe I've not. Oh, there it is. Right. Hang on.
So you haven't got baller indigestion then?
I have got baller indigestion. Yeah, I went out for some food yesterday with the family, like yesterday afternoon, and for starters, I had soundly soup, and I washed that down. I washed that down with a drink of Baller's Tears, and then for my main course, I had what did I have for my main course? I can't remember what I had for my main course.
You had Mick.
But, that was it. Yeah, Mick West magic refraction nonsense.
Yeah.
And then for dessert, I had a bit of Isle of Man because that was sweet. How you doing, Ali?
I'm doing well, Anthony. So,
Good.
Here we go.
That was good. It was a great. Let me talk now. It was a great presentation there on that on Patricia's, and kudos to getting out there. I thought you guys done a great job and concise and yeah, nice job. Nice job.
It was lovely not to have any backwards fighting. It was like a one-way echo chamber. They are valuable echo chambers.
It helps sometimes to get the kind of to get the point across. And as we're talking about earlier on there, it's right what Nathan says. You know, I mean, they keep dragging us up to the right-hand side of the island kind of thing, when all the evidence is down on the left-hand side. We're seeing things that are feet maybe behind the curvature.
The problem with the right-hand side is that there's not enough landmarks for us to be able to see. I mean, down the left-hand side, there's about 15 things that we can work on. On the right-hand side, you have one thing, and it's the end of one mountain, and that's it. There's nothing else in the image to help you identify whether that land is what I say it is, or whether that land is something else. So it's really difficult to do it with so little evidence, but they have to go down that way because it's the only. When you go down the left-hand side, there's that much of it down the left-hand side that it basically shows that what we're looking at to the right is basically what I say. So they have to ignore the stuff to the left. That's why they're going down the right. But it's
Here's the thing,
and I mean, it's clear to see there's definitely mountains behind that. That last lighthouse. That's strange. That's really messing with my brain, because when I look at, I mean, I've been looking at it quite a bit since it. And there's, from the viewing angle, there's not a bit of land that you could see that sits behind that, that's higher than that. That's probably the highest point there. You've got a point that's right over the other side, on the right-hand side, the bottom part, that's higher, but the viewing angle wouldn't put that lighthouse mountains.
Well, the other thing is the scale that they want to use puts the boat that's in the photograph, it puts it out of the shipping lane and it puts it right in front of Douglas, and that's not a shipping lane. So the problem with
but there's supply vessels and stuff like that fart about out there and fishing. I know it's not really an evidence though, that saying about, because there's loads of boats that go out there. You've got these supply boats for the.
Yeah, but that particular boat
for
is
all
an
these
industrial
rigs
one
and stuff like that. And I know they have to stick to certain shipping lanes, but as I say,
it's not that. It's just where it's located in the photograph. If you want to take that right-hand piece is the Isle of Man, what you've got is what looks like a blurry, distant boat that is definitely less than 30 miles from you. So it kind of makes no sense. Then again, it's still kind of erroneous. You don't know. We don't really know what the boat is. We think we know what the boat is. It could just be deceptive because it is in that band of refraction, that crappy air, whatever we want to call it. It's still going to be slightly ambiguous. But so is everything on the right-hand side of the image. That's why it gets debated so much, because it distracts from the 145-mile observation of Ireland and Lagness Lighthouse that distinguishes the end of the Isle of Man from Ireland. People don't want to talk about that. It's like, yeah, because you've got nothing.
Well, what's kind of funny is that when we're looking at Ramsey, for instance, non-existent Ramsey, there should be a boat in that line of sight. There should be a boat there, and that is missing too. It's literally the time that it was taken, checking all the charts and everything, there was definitely a very big boat that should have been right in front of Ramsey, and it wasn't there. We couldn't see it. We still don't see it on the video. So clearly the refraction or whatever was going on in that area was that great that it completely not only drowned out Ramsey, but it drowned out the boat as well.
Yeah, it's a very strange one, that, as I say, it's just as well looking at that. I was wondering, Shane, if I can you give? I've not got a copy of that high resolution one that you did. The high resolution. Okay. I wouldn't mind a wee copy of that if I could look at that.
Yeah, sure. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, put it in the wee chat, our wee chat or something like that. If you just send me the. Yeah, because I was just watching the other night when you were doing it. I was like, because as I say, that it's like the more we identify, the more proof. And it was quite. I mean, we have to admit that the ballers were quite helpful, pushing us to, or pushing yourselves to, look at things deeper, be a bit more critical, and you've got a fine presentation there that it's kind of hard to argue it. arguments. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with it.
Well, that was it. It was their constant denials and stuff like this that caused us to go back and re-examine the stuff over and over. We probably wouldn't have done it to this extent had we not been pushed. So
it just makes the evidence stronger, makes the case stronger. I mean, they've actually done something that they. Yeah, nice one. Thanks for that, Shay. They've done something that they shouldn't have done, kind of thing, through their own ineptitude and stupidity. They're not very good at in that boycott. I mean, there's the proof with the boycott kind of thing. You know, that never worked.
Well, the thing was,
breaking ranks. I mean, their organisation.
Yes, they must have suspected what we were doing, because literally at that point we had them on the ropes, and it was literally a case of we were just about to drive the nail through the coffin, and they decided to boycott, because we'd literally compiled evidence upon evidence of all the things that they'd done and conceded. We knew where everything was. We were just about to get them all on and do the hangout where we just completely crippled them, and then they boycotted. I think they sniffed it out. They sniffed what we'd been doing and how we'd led them down into the trap, and they never fell into the trap at the end. So, but we had everything we needed up till then. Though we'd already won the debate. So.
I was going to make a point then. Should I make it or not? I'm not sure. I can ask the opinion of the panel. If I bring this picture back up, oops. Somebody asked me yesterday in private message. His question was, "How strong are you with diffused light?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Diffused light is what we see when we are looking at things from a long way away." And I said, "Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, because we see lasers and we see starlight diffuses, and obviously they're traveling a great distance." But I wasn't quite sure what he was referencing. And he actually referenced one of my favorite video makers, Taboo Conspiracy. And what he was showing was, let me just get up Taboo Conspiracy's thing. What he was showing was that in Taboo Conspiracy's videos, two videos in particular, he, I'll pull this up to here. He has uploads. I'm just going to find the relevant one. Should have had this lined up ready. It's the one where he's on the lake experiment, and it's quite old. So bear with me while I get back to it. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll search on his channel for 8 Miles. Should come up. Right, there we go. So should I go with the right? So in his videos where he's doing the long distance observations, what he shows is that when he gets like 6, 7, 8 miles away, he has a flashlight, and the flashlight shows it's not this one, it's the other one. It's the 8 mile one. I should have had this lined up. Apologies. Just bear with me while I find it. So it's it'll be the word robot, and then won't it? ROWBOTHAM. I think this is the one. This is what he cited, and I agree with this completely. What he's saying here is where Taboo Conspiracy's got his light in the background. His point that he's making is, look how there's no definition in the land in the background. Some would argue it's out of focus. Some would also say that because it's so far away, it's the light or the detail in the landscape is diffused, because partly to do with the way he's got his camera set up at the time, but also to do with the circumstances, but also to do with the whole picture that he's working in at the time. All of the factors all together create this soft, blurry background with no definition to it. And the light source that is a focal point. It's like a parabolica because it's a flashlight. It's diffused. And his point was that at the further away you go, the light splays out to you, like it diffuses, which is the reason why Jaron's having problems with his laser experiment at the side of the canal, because the laser beam's diffusing over distance. It's getting fatter as it gets towards the end. So that diffusal of light is indicative of something being really far away. And the point that the guy was making to me once I realized what he was getting at was that in this particular part of the image, we've spoke about this in the past, that part of the image is different to this part in the background. And it indicates that there's at least two layers here. There's one layer on one side because of the change in light, and there's another layer behind, which is governed by the difference in contrast. But what he's saying is, look at how little image definition there is. And he said that's diffused light, and that's consistent with something being really far away, whereas the boat has got much more definition to it, and it's not just a blur of ballness, softness. But in relation to this land, can you see that basically the outline of the land is sharp enough to be able to see it, whereas in the background there's very little sharpness, and that indicates that that is further away, in addition to the color contrast. So basically what he was saying is that the diffused light evidence here supports this being further away than this one, because there's less diffusal in this position, in this photograph. And I thought that's actually a really good point. It's a valid point, particularly with regard to the boat. I mean, I know the boat is small, but you can see that there is an angled side to the boat that's receiving light or not receiving light. And there's a clear line between the two, but when it's miles away, it becomes diffused. Obviously, it gets too small, the boat, as it gets further away. But the point is, diffused light is supporting this being a lot further away than it appears. And I just thought it was a good point. Nobody else had mentioned it, and I certainly hadn't thought about it. And I just thought it was a good point overall. Anyway, just thought I'd share that moment with you all.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's two ways of looking at that. It could be the diffused light thing, or it could be simply just because of the crappy air that's in that location.
Sure.
Because we know that once it gets past sort of Ramsey, this is where we're hitting this dirty air, and it's washed out Ramsey. It's washed out a boat that should be in that location. We don't see it, completely vanished. And then obviously the further right you go, the deeper it appears that refraction layer is. So it's two ways of looking at it. You've got a lot of moisture in the air in that particular location, because obviously you're looking at something that's a span of about 45, 50 miles or so from the left to the right. That's what you're spanning across. The Isle of Man, you're looking 30 miles from the point A to Ramsey. So point A being the lighthouse, the furthest away, to Ramsey, which is disappeared. That's 30 miles, you know, and yeah, I mean, so you're looking over massive distances, and weather can be localized. So
what happened to Ali? Did he drop, or is he?
No, he's still here.
No, he's just doing bits and bobs. I don't think he's here at the minute. He's just popping in and out.
Huh.
So yeah, I mean, so it's like where you live and where I live. You know, we're looking at about 30 miles difference. Well, you've told me that it snows there, and I'm like, it's snowing. I says it's just peeing down here, or it's dry here, and you're telling me it's raining there. You know, it's localized weather. So at one end of the Isle of Man, it can be beautiful weather, so you can see for miles and miles. And the other one, it could be peeing down. So on the right hand side, there's every chance the weather was completely different, and that's just why you're not seeing things. So it's either, like you say, it could be diffused light and being far away. You know, this is where we're going to disagree. Or I'm going to say that it's basically just the dirty air in that location that's just messing everything up, that you can't really tell what the hell's there. So it's ambiguous, very ambiguous on the north. But the south is just clear as day. You can see everything. That's where your winning points are, is in the south, because you can identify probably at least 10 or 15 landmarks very clearly, and you can identify island behind the furthest landmark. So yeah, the north should, you know, I mean, let's put it this way. When you release the video, right, when you first zoom in, you look at the Isle of Man, and then you pan to the left, and then you pan back across up to Ramsey. If you'd have just stopped the video there and not showed anybody anything from the northern side, right, there would have been no argument.
Well, wouldn't that be like doing what?
Yes, it would. But this is what I'm saying. This is where we are different. This is where you and I and all the flat earthers, as far as I'm concerned, are different, because we will release the entirety of the video. So we won't hold anything back. We'll show the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll try and analyze it. Whereas you get selective ballers who will be very selective with what show, like Soundly, for instance, who's very, very, very selective with how he shows. Yeah, he only ever shows curvature. He only ever goes when it's really foggy or misty or anything like, he's so disingenuous with the truth. Especially when you got other people that are doing the same observations in the area that are showing those pylons to be straight.
Plus he's only showing it over 16 miles.
Yeah, I mean, come on. So when I'm saying that he's very selective and he never gives anything out that cannot be shown to have curvature. Whereas you could have gone and cut the video off at halfway and said, right, I'm releasing half of this video and all your money shots in the south. You would never have had to go to the north. But you wanted answers in the north too. So this is why you released the video in its entirety and you said, there's the south, there's the north. And it leaves the door open for them to come in and try and move the argument from the south to the north. When actually the north is much clearer and it's just in crappy air. You can see that with the band of refraction underneath it. But they want to talk about that. They want to talk about the area where it's ambiguous because it drags the observation down. So if you get into that conversation with them, it's going to be a lose-lose. Stick to the south and you're on a win-win. 145 miles, beat that.
Well, Al K is in chat. I'm just wondering if Al K is ever going to release his final, 10 seconds of video. Because without that video, Al, you can't debunk me. And I'm asking you again, can you produce that video, please? Just 10 seconds will do. Did you get the same land that I got? And what I want to do, Dave, if I'm presenting now, while the dogs kill each other.
Yeah.
So, Mick West refraction. On the... Welcome back, Ali.
All right, how you doing? Yep, that's me.
Good.
I got sniped by my telephone.
That's okay.
What are you talking about?
Flat Earth Debate 117. And if you go to around about 20 minutes in, I think it was. Oh, no, it might have been Flat Earth Debate 118. Where is it?
That's 117, I think.
About 20 minutes in, wasn't it? There it is. 30 minutes.
All right, one second, Shane, stick that link in the chat again because I lost it. If you don't mind, mate. Sorry, carry on, Anthony.
Okay, so on the debate 117 at around about the 36 minutes mark, I start attacking Mick West's magic mathematics nonsense website to do with this apparent ball that we live on. And fundamentally, it was to do with this this diagram at the bottom. And the point I was making was that he referenced all of these reference points that was like horizon distance was a value of A, the bulge was a value of B, distance was D, radius was R, viewer height was H, but at the top of it, where all the numbers are, none of these labels appeared. And he was using different words. Shut up, you two. He was using different words or different adjectives to describe these labeling. And fundamentally, I'd never really challenged it, questioned it, or thought anything more about it. But it was only in this debate that I was looking at it, and somebody said to me, "Do you realize how bad that labeling is?" I said, "I know, but it's just the way it is." And the reality is, shut up. Hang on a minute. And the reality is, of course, if you labelled a diagram, a mathematical diagram like this in GCSE maths, it would fail. That would be a fail. So I attacked it on the basis that it made it was nonsense. It made no sense. So he's obviously changed it now, which is great in one sense because he acknowledges that he did make a mistake with it because it was naff. But what he's now showed is like, I'm going to question this with the panel because I'm not actually sure this is correct because the way he's got this value of drop, it appears to me that the drop would be from this point here rather than from the perpendicular point, because wouldn't it be the point that's perpendicular to the radius of the Earth? The drop would be calculated from here, which has started to drop away because of the...
Yeah, he's definitely put it in the wrong place. That value of G should be on a parallel... Well, it should be running up the green, basically. So he's effectively knocked off a little bit of height on that.
Yeah, he's showing it as higher as what it actually would. Stop it.
And he's actually included tilt. Have you noticed that he's put a tilt in now?
Yeah.
Well, have you ever seen a building tilt?
Well, they don't. It doesn't do it, does it? Because it's like
No.
69 miles. It's like 1
Right.
degree.
Here's it. Right. Well, Mick West is clearly watching this, right? I want Mick West, seeing as he's done this new, he's changed all this stuff, right? So this is obviously he's watching and he's listening in, and he just doesn't say anything. I want Mick West to reference at least one building that tilts, and don't do the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Well,
Right?
what I was going to ask him was, my dogs are like attacking me. I was going to ask Michael or Mick, why does he refer to? Somebody's asked a question, and he's talking about refraction to do with the stars and a few other bits and pieces. But the value of 7.6R, which I have a big problem with because it's based on it's based on a radius. He says his own words are, it's just a rough approximation of the effect of refraction on the apparent radius of the Earth. Why do you use the word apparent? Because if it's a fixed thing that we live on a ball, the need for the word apparent is non-existent, because it would be factually the case that we live on a ball. So the correct phraseology would be the radius, not the apparent radius. So I want to know, like, why have you actually used this word, Mick? It's completely redundant, and it implies, for me, as a cynic, it implies that you know that we don't live on a ball, and that you're using that word as a tilt of the cap. And the reason why I think this is because when we did the debates with Paul, Nathan innocently asked whether or not the Ordnance Survey maps
Frank James, hello, Frank. Hello, Frank.
Hi, Frank. How you doing?
Frank.
Straight on to mute. Bye, Frank. You need to say hello, not go on mute.
If you think the snipers are getting in today, you got another thing coming, because I'm on guard today.
Yeah, and I've got a bit of freedom to be able to relax. But yeah, so Nathan asked whether or not the Ordnance Survey maps were based on a ball or whether they were based on a flat plane. And when I went to look at the wording for the geodetic maps, it was obvious that they were, well, in my opinion, they were given a tilt of the cap, because they used the same kind of word. It said in their website, it said that the world is described as a globe or a sphere. And I thought, the world is described as a sphere, not the world is a sphere. So they used a word there to dilute the importance of the phrase that they were using, and mixed on it here. So I kind of want to know, why does he use the word 7.6R is the apparent radius, and it's not, as a matter of fact, the radius? Because I just think he's being sneaky. You know, like the way people say.
I can answer that. It's because they don't know. It's because there's all the Earth is not according to them, a perfect sphere. That's why they get away with that word apparent. It's not a sphere, and people need to stop. I've got a photograph or a computer generation of what the Earth looks like, and everybody's seen it. You know, it's all got different points of gravity, or the gravity is stronger here than it is there, and all that kind of stuff. It's because they use the word apparent, is because I'm not sure.
Well, I was going to say, because I mean,
it appears. If you say apparent, it means it appears to be, you could say.
Well, I've heard Miles the Liar Davis describing it as a spheroid. I've heard other people describing it as spherical. I've heard Neil deGrasse Tyson describing it as oblate. An oblate
it's spheroid. A geoid.
Yeah.
They use that in the
Geoid.
satellite, when they're doing satellite geodesy or geodesy or whatever. They use that, depending what they're measuring. Depending what they're measuring, they use the sphere. The sphere, the ellipsoid, or the geoid for taking heights and stuff.
Yeah, but they're going and referring back to the WGS 84, and they're getting the geodetic survey readings to start their survey, and then they survey out from that point and essentially perform planar surveying from that point. But when they use the WGS 84, they're just getting their datum point, if that's the correct terminology, from the inside marked point on an azimuthal equidistant projection. So when you actually look into the datum that they use, it's based on an AE map.
Yeah, it's flat. And the thing is with satellites, right, what people don't seem to realise is with the satellites, if you want to say they're balloons or whatever, it doesn't matter. But the ones that are actually doing the geodesy, they measure it as a plane, and an algorithm or a program on board the satellite actually put it onto the sphere, right? And then that data, the spherical data, is then signaled down to the ground base. So it actually comes up as a sphere already. So the satellite projects onto a sphere, and then sends the spherical dimensions down to the ground base.
Yeah, like if they
you know,
used
the
like the way they
receiver.
used to do it with the stars. But if you actually look at how WGS 84 works, they've got a sphere wrapped around this flat plane, which is the azimuthal equidistant projection, which they have to mark off to say, you know, this is where all the bureaucracy comes in terms of getting it absolutely spot on versus that datum. So what they're doing is they're taking what you're saying is a satellite location and then plotting it in on the outside of the sphere in the WGS 84. Well, that's like a tantamount to saying that you're looking at the celestial sphere on a flat plane. That's basically what it looks like to me when you actually have an exploded diagram of what the WGS 84 is, and you can see the azimuthal equidistant projection at its centre and the lines that they draw from the spheroid that surrounds it in terms of lining up the North Star and things like that. It basically negates that need, and you can just go from the datum. But as I say, the map it's based on is the azimuthal equidistant projection.
Yeah, absolutely. It measures it flat. End of story. It measures it flat. And I always laugh when they say, oh, well, if you get a ball, if you get an orange and then spread out. No, you've got that back to front, numpty heads. The fact is, it's measured as a plane, and then they wrap the flat information round the sphere. So they actually change it what they say they do, because they actually, satellites can't determine whether the Earth's a sphere or not. It's just gathering data. It's bouncing signals. It's bouncing signals and gathering data. That's all it's doing. That's all it's doing, and it's reading it at planar geometry. End of story.
Nath, I've just been given a link to somebody. The message is, I see you're on the debates at the minute. I see Matrix Breakout has done a video regarding Isle of Man. It's a 5-minute video. Do you reckon we should debunk it whilst we're on, or we should do it whilst we're on? Because he's put this video out, and I'm just looking through it to see what he's talking about.
Maybe do it tomorrow after we've actually had time to look at it, rather than dissecting it up live under pressure. There's just no point. We are absolutely not under any obligations to do anything. We're under zero pressure. You know, the battle has been won. If we choose to chop a few people's heads off in the aftermath, then maybe, but we'll do it at our leisure rather than live, if that's okay with you. I mean, if you want to, then, you know, you go be my guest. You can do what you like.
I kind of agree with Nathan on this one. We can just we can relax, to be fair.
Yeah, they're just scrambling for position now. I mean, they're desperate. You know what I mean? They've got, you know, as we keep saying, what happened to Alki and Miles with their observation? And then that I heard that Miles saying, "Oh, we didn't go down there to debunk Anthony. We went down there because it's the best place to get observations." I thought you.
What a lie! What a lie!
I mean, I was basically threatened by Jeremy. Not threatened, but it was threatened with a non-capital T. He said, well, we've got someone going back to St. Bees, and he never actually said the words to debunk you, but that was clearly the intention. He was trying to tell me that they've got someone going back, and that if you're lying, Riley, we're going to find you out. And guess what? They come back with absolutely nothing. They spoke about an hour for turbines. I mean, I don't know how we got an hour out of them turbines, but you got an hour out of the turbines, and then you got another video about something that I had mentioned on Nathan's live hangouts in October-ish. And I mean, there was nothing there coming back. Yet all the hype that they were building up nicely to didn't happen, did it? Because guess what? I wasn't lying.
Yeah, and I find that. Do you know, it's like that famous saying, accuse the enemy of your own indiscretions kind of thing. And that's all they're doing. And that, do you know, if you hear their rhetoric, that it's almost laughable that they're accusing people of doing things that they do themselves. And it's as if they're oblivious to it.
Well, what they've
talk about indoctrinated and blind and bias. You know what I mean? And they can't see it. They just cannot see it. You know, they're them people that, like that Russian defector guy said about the propaganda thing. He says it wouldn't matter if you brought evidence, pictures, the whole lot. He said they won't. They just will not take it on because it causes such a emotional, reaction within their brains. It's not even cognitive. It's not even reason. If you were using reason on it, then you would know they were emotionally reacting. They don't actually seem to realise that for all their logicity, or they think they're logic or whatever, they're actually reacting with their emotions. And you know what happens there? You never react with your emotions, unless in an act of kindness, but certainly not in that way that they seem to get affected with it. Anyway,
Yeah.
just interesting.
Well, the rhetoric has taken a step up, basically. It's like after I went on Patricia's show, I've got a bit of an echo going on there. Is that you?
My mic was open because there was a Chinook going past.
Right, okay. Yeah, the rhetoric has gone through the roof. It was funny yesterday. There's been some soccer accounts made. What was it called? Lumberjack's back. But I thought it was quite funny, actually. But then they turned it into very nasty stuff about something that I experienced when I was like 3 years old. And it's like, are you actually going to go down this route? And it's just ridiculous.
But they're exposing themselves with they're actually, if you watch these people, they're actually exposing themselves, their psychology by their actions, right? And for them to do that, I was listening while that was going on, Shane, and I'm telling you, mate, it was like, they're jumping on. I thought, oh my God, what's wrong with you people? I mean, they're really, I believe they're damaged. They're not well people.
And how that confirms or denies the flat Earth, it's just ridiculous. And they think that by saying stuff like this is going to get a reaction from me, but it's not. I find it quite hilarious, actually, that they would go to such lengths to do this. But yeah, I mean, like you say, it does show the kind of persons that we're dealing with, And to be fair, it's only maybe a dozen of them.
Sorry, I always think what they're doing, their state of mind, their frame of mind when they're actually in the action of doing that. You know what I mean? I'm like, God, that must be really twisted inside their head. They're not sort of sitting thinking, oh, la, typing, do all that. They're driven by, I don't know, it's almost like a hatred, can I say? Maybe not a hatred, but certainly something akin to hatred or whatever, because it's to me, it's very strange behaviour that they get so angry and vitriolic towards you. They just, it's so funny. It's not funny. It's actually quite worrying that these people are actually on. They accuse us of being crazy and stuff like that. Okay, we might be thinking a little bit out of the box, but these guys are psychologically damaged.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's our belief. Our belief is in a flat Earth. They don't believe in it. So why? It's like, I don't believe in Santa Claus, but I'm not going to go and hang around a hangout where people believe in Santa Claus and turn up every single day and insult them, right? I'm just not going to do that. I mean, I don't believe in fairies, but I'm sure if I went looking on YouTube, I could find a live fairy stream where people are talking about fairies and believing in fairies. I'm not going to go in there and say, you're all insane, and troll them for months and years, and make fake accounts. I mean, what goes on in their head? If you don't believe in flat Earth, go away.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Just move on. Go and do something.
They expose themselves in the chat, and it was quite good that I noticed when they did boycott, like different people were coming on the hangout. There was people we hadn't seen or heard before, so it was kind of. But I suppose they've been pulled into line now as well. Because it must be quite intimidating before when all these ballers were on, and it was just distraction. They just shout over you and stuff like that. It was obvious tactics. They'd sat down and talked about it. Right, if they talk about this, just you start arguing and I'll start arguing, and then we'll just, so the word doesn't get out.
I just want to mention a couple of things in support of what Ranty was saying with regards to the lumberjack story. The line that he said was that children are more susceptible to this kind of thing, and he's absolutely correct. If anybody's done any studying whatsoever on psychology, particularly child psychology, you will learn that children do experience things that adults cannot explain, and there is no logic for it other than something extra paranormal, if you want to use the word, and I use that loosely. Because if I share my screen a sec now, children are in touch with something that they lose the contact for later on in life. And this particular example of a story, and it's on a collectiveevolution.com website. So if you're a baller, this would be absolutely proof of something that's true because it's got the word evolution in it. To us, we take it with a pinch of salt because it's not necessarily true. But nonetheless, this 3-year-old boy remembers his past life. He locates his previous body and identifies the man who murdered him. And what basically the story is that this body was buried, and it was this kid that was buried in this body. He was killed by somebody in a village somewhere, and he came back in the afterlife as this body. And he went to the point where he was killed, and he told people to dig there, they'll find a body. And people were like, nah, no way. Anyway, cutting a long story short, they dug out, found the body, and there was an axe wound to the skull. He then pointed out where the axe was discarded. So they went and got the axe and found the axe, and again the kid was correct. And then the kid took them to the house in the village where the guy that lived there still was responsible for the killing. And the guy was arrested and convicted of murder based on the information that this kid gave. Is it true? I don't know. Is it believable? Hell yeah, because there's evidence here, because there's a photograph of a skeleton, right? So if you're a baller, you would go, oh, that's absolutely true. But me, I'm a little bit more skeptical. I'm not sure whether this is true or not, because I tend to not believe this kind of stuff, because I don't know how anything could possibly happen like this.
There is quite a lot of stories, though, Anthony,
that's what I was
about
going to
people
say.
doing this before. This isn't the only example I've seen. Throughout my
I
life,
agree.
I've
That's
seen
what I was going to say.
examples
That's what I was going to
of
say. That was
this.
my point. In isolation, if this was one story on its own, I'd be a little bit. I wouldn't believe this. I'll be honest. But there are loads of them like this where kids have been involved in extraterrestrial experiences that no adult can explain. They know stuff that we shouldn't, that we should not know. There's loads of it. So when Ranty's talking about the lumberjack in the wardrobe, there are thousands of stories like that. And it's well documented that children do have A, imaginary friends, B, the ability to see things that adults cannot see, which is why they never believed, right? Children don't lie about certain things. And one of the things they don't lie about is their friends that they talk about or whatever. They don't make these things up. To them children, they're absolutely real. Anybody with any knowledge or experience or education in psychology will tell you children have frequently experiences like this, and adults laugh at them because it's nonsense, right? But not all of them, but a huge proportion of them report this kind of thing. So Ranty's not on his own here. There are thousands and thousands of people. And yeah, okay, I can see why the ballers would laugh at him. And it is laughable in some respects because it is laughable, right? On the face of it, it is laughable. But when you dig deeper and you go and actually do a bit of studying around this phenomena that children have, this thing, this sixth sense that they only have for a few years, there are thousands of people that have experienced this on the record officially, and not just like all these weird things. They know stuff that they should not know, and they speak in a prose that is adult language for words that like language that they haven't yet developed anyway. So it's crazy, and it has experts baffled because it makes no logical sense. So hence the reason why people do believe in reincarnation of some form or something else, because there is a lot of evidence to support it. So Ranty's not crazy when he said about the lumberjack. Sure, on the face of it, it seems crazy, but that's because you're ignorant and haven't looked into it at all.
I don't think it doesn't. I don't think it even seems crazy. Not in today's, because as you've just said, there's been loads of studies that this stuff gets done. So it doesn't even, to me, it doesn't even sound crazy when someone says it, especially a child. You know, because as you say, I believe that, you know, we are made dumber.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the logic in the of like a 3-year-old child, they're so, I don't mean honest, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but they're so, they state the obvious. You know what I mean? It's like they see it as it is, kind of thing. And they do reckon that a child's personality gets molded from birth to about 8-year-old, 9-year-old, and that child's personality is kind of, you know, the overall, not the intricacies of whatever, but their overall basic world view and their personalities have been decided by the time they're 8 or 9-year-old.
Now,
which is
saying that.
I mean, that's studies. They've got thousands of studies to back that up. Just what I said there, you know. So I mean, I think this thing about why they poo-poo all this, all that kind of stuff you just talked about, is because then it would be like them admitting there's a God kind of thing. Now, as I say, either way, I'm not really bothered about it. I don't know, so I don't really comment on it. I'm kind of middle of the road regarding that kind of thing. But I think that when people hear that, I mean, to enter into actually accepting that goes on, you're kind of accepting that you don't know. Because that kind of knocks all your physics, all your mathematics, because you haven't got mathematics to actually describe, that actual event that happens. And I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of cases of this happening by kids, kind of thing. And I think these people are scared, actually scared by it. It scares them, because of their beliefs.
Well, my second point, and then I'll come back to Ranty so we can comment on this, but I'll just rattle this out quick. The Ghost Hunter TV series went on for, I think in England, it went on for 3 series. And these are people that believe that there are ghosts. Now, my position is I've never seen a ghost. I don't believe they exist. I believe that there are practical and day-to-day explanations for everything that we see that we attribute to being to ghosts. Like a door shutting is probably because there's a window open. It's not because there's a ghost that's closed it, right? That's my view. I don't believe in ghosts. I've never seen any evidence of a ghost. I don't think they exist. However, there are other people that believe that there are ghosts. And these people are generally described by people like me as more impressionable or more susceptible to nonsense. But I don't go around attacking them because they believe in ghosts, because I don't believe in them. So when it comes, and it's the same for all religions, those people that believe and worship the sun or Allah or God or whatever, these people believe what they believe because they believe it. And it's their reality, it's their world. But I realize that we don't live on a curved earth. And I don't accept that we live on a curved earth. So I get attacked.
So it's like we're all wired differently, right? And they say that some people that can see different spectrums of light, for instance, and that it's possible that there could be other living creatures in this world that we just cannot see because we can only see in certain wavelengths.
If you don't
be, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Yeah, so if you can only see in certain wavelengths and you can't see something that's like, let's say ultraviolet, right? Well, we can't see in ultraviolet or X-rays or anything like that. Well, let's suppose in something lived as an X-ray being on this planet. We'd never see it. It would be there, but we'd never see it. Now, if your brain was wired differently and your cognitive, whatever it is, there was something different about you where you was able to tap into that wavelength and see it. Like some people, these mediums and stuff that say they can see, ghosts and stuff. It's possible there could be other things living that we just don't see.
Absolutely,
we aren't tapped into that like they are.
I don't really like the ghost analogy. I think a better analogy would be saying the Earth is flat is like saying the sky is orange, because everyone can observably see that the sky is blue, just like everyone can observe that we live on a sphere Earth. That's a better analogy than the ghost analogy, I think.
But that's not.
Yeah, I don't like that ghost thing either. I just think of it as energy. I just usually say it's like an energy or something like that. But I don't like the ghost.
Flat Earth is like pointing out something empirically obvious. I mean, okay, so if I went around saying the sky is orange, that's the same thing as flat Earth. The ghost analogy is bad because everyone can see the sphere Earth. Everyone can see the sky is blue. The ghost thing is pretty hard to prove either way.
But everyone can't see the sphere Earth. No one gets that perspective. No one gets to see the Earth as a ball. And what we do observe is a flat Earth. Hence us looking at the Isle of Man for so long, because it's just obviously flat.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
I'm waiting for PMAS to respond.
Oh, to respond to what?
Well, I've said that the Isle of Man depicts a flat Earth in no uncertain terms. So you can see things at 51 miles and 145 miles, and that's only possible if it's flat, unless you want to believe in holographic projections. So,
I mean, even if that was true, there's still thousands of other points of evidence that would disprove the flat Earth, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but would you agree that there's a preponderance of evidence building up against the idea that we live on a spheroid or whatever nonsense word you want to describe it as?
I don't think there's any evidence that
there is an absolute boatload. Just type in the word flat Earth and then see what comes up. You'll see that there's a shed load.
I see a bunch of propaganda.
Yeah, I see a bunch of propaganda as well. It usually starts with the word NASA.
What about this then? Do you believe that the Earth is the size that they say it is then?
Yes.
Right, okay, so, well, that stuff that working with, what do you call it, the Isle of Man, that proves beyond doubt that it's not, because when you use the calculator, it's too far. It should be disappearing. You shouldn't be seeing that. Now, if you can say the Earth was bigger, I mean, if I was a ball earther, right, and I've people handed out this information showing these photographs, instead of running about trying to debunk it, my first thought would be, well, that's interesting. Why is that? And it could point to, or from a baller's point of view, it could, or a conspiracy theorist baller point of view, is the Earth is bigger than what they're telling us. So they are hiding land or something. Because to deny the fact that we are seeing objects that should be over the curvature at the mathematical equations that they've given us, they've supplied us with, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work on the planet that they describe, for the fact that we're living on an uneven planet, and they say that it's thicker at the bottom. So that mathematics that they're given, that wider area at the bottom of the fat area, will be totally different mathematics. So what's the point of using this miles per squared every there's like no point to that, right? To having that, if you're going to use that calculation, right? That calculation's for a sphere. Use lots say the Earth is not a sphere, and your science will say it's a geoid, and it's got different gravitational, there's different masses of land, different heights. It's not a perfect sphere. So that would say to me then, suggest to me then, that if it's not a sphere, what's the point of doing a linear equation? What's the point of that? Because it wouldn't describe absolutely nothing. You would have to, for the specific coordinates that you are taking your measurement, you would have to know the exact radius of the Earth at that point. But yet, when you do this point, they say, oh, well, it's 6,000 blah, blah, all the way around, when it's not. And they'll say, oh, it's only 1,000 feet. But that's a big difference. There's a big difference there. You know, the Earth, if you want to accept it's a planet, the Earth is not a perfect sphere. And people get that into their heads. The mathematics wouldn't work. That's just my opinion anyway. And so if it is a ball, like you believe it is, it's way bigger. Without a doubt, it's huge.
I'm going to do a quick link. We're coming up on approximately 1 hour left of this live stream. Hope you're enjoying the debate thus far. If you're new to the channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live, so toss me a buck or two in there if you're enjoying these streams. But most importantly, if you would like to join the debate, simply mute the page you are currently listening to, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. Be sure to say a very swift hello when you join the Hangout, so we don't remove you on consideration that you might be doing something nefarious. So please say a very quick hello. If you've not done so already, please share the show, as this increases the live audience, which in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. There is approximately 1 hour left on this broadcast.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be possible for him to lie about the shape, because people could observe it. And if they were lying, then you could just observe it and it would be changed. I
don't mean they're lying, P-Mars. It's the model that they give. If, for example, in satellite geodesy, depending what they're measuring, they use 3 different models, but they've got about 50 different models of the planet. NASA's got 50 different models of the planet, right? But for that geodetic surveying, they use 3. They use the ellipsoid, the mean sea level, and the geoid. And they take their picks. So they're not like lying. They're given 3. They're not trying to hide it. And how can you see if it's a geoid, whether it's a perfect sphere or it's an ellipsoid or it's fatter? That's something we can't ever see, and we never will see it. So it's not that they're lying. It's just they're just hiding the fact that it's what the place we live in is a lot different than what they're describing, and they're getting found out for it. That's all because they're well, whatever. They're just getting found out for it because the maths are not working. The refraction's up the spout. We've got big cameras now that can look a lot further. We are seeing things now that we would never see with the naked eye. That ship over the horizon now does not go over the horizon at 3 miles. We might only be able to see 3 miles. But when you stick a telescope there, that ship's still in sight, and it shouldn't be. But there you go. That's why I believe in the flat Earth.
You're absolutely right. It's
because I want evidence. Sorry.
P900's a globe killer, basically. It's an excellent camera for doing what we need in flat Earth. We don't need really glorious looking pictures. They don't need to look, like an art shot. Just need detail at a very long range. That's it. And that's what we have. And that's why Ranty was able to match up the landscape so well and have it look exactly the same and be able to see all the details at, 50 miles. It's ridiculous how good the detail is at that distance, but that's purely down to the technology in the cameras.
Yeah, and the thing was with that, people keep debunking this thing. There was a web page called Beyond Horizons or something. I think everybody knows, and the world record photograph was 250 miles. It was done at a height or whatever. But I followed a thread in there, and it led to a what do you call it, a discussion board or whatever you call it. I can't remember what you call it, but one of them. And these guys were professional photographers, right? They were professional photographers, and even they were saying, how the hell they were amazed that they could see as much as they could see because they'd be accounting for 2 kilometers of refraction, guys. And these guys are professional photographers. It's what they do, man. They climb up these huge mountains and see how far they could look. And even there was a big discussion about it they were having, not about flat Earth or anything like that, but they were pointing out that, how the hell, what's going on here? This is amazing. They were totally amazed that they were getting 2 kilometers of refraction in less atmosphere. You know what I mean? Yeah, because they were up like thousands of meters. So they can't say, it's the atmosphere, it's refracting or whatever, or stuff like that. And these guys didn't know what was going on. And these guys they do it for a living. They're not flat earthers or anything like that. So. And that's stuff like that, and there's 100 bits of little things all to do with photography, astro, everything. There's loads of little clues.
Yeah, like when you go out in a boat and you sail into the sea, when you come back to land, you can see the mountains before you see the beach because the Earth is a sphere.
Well, that's kind of stretch, isn't it? Well, I can see the mountains, so the Earth is a sphere. That's a bit of a stretch, though. Logically,
you can see them before the beach. The beach will disappear over the horizon, and you can see the mountains still.
No, that just means you don't see the horizon because of the light. But it's nothing to do with that. It's to do with the light. We've already proved it. And there's this mirroring effect and stuff like that. Exactly. That you don't even see that it's mirroring. Right? So that stuff, you can't expect to go 50 miles away and see the beach. Not with the amount, that's 50 miles of water that's got to travel over.
You can't expect to tell people the Earth is flat or, we're being misled about the shape when they can clearly see it's not.
Well, they can't, you see, because we don't have the technology to go high enough. Nobody does.
I just described, Ranty, how they could by sailing out into the ocean, and everyone has the technology to sail out into the ocean.
And do what?
I don't have the technology to sail out into the ocean.
Okay, Ranty, you go into the ocean, right? And you wait, like the horizon, it's all water. And as you sail back to land, you'll see the mountains before you see the beach, proving that we live on a sphere. It's very simple.
Well, no, not really, because that at the horizon, you've got all that mucky air that just hides. And what you're forgetting is that mountain at some point, it's...
well, then the mucky air, why doesn't it hide Ireland?
Huh?
Why doesn't the mucky air hide Ireland when you can see it so far away? Why doesn't it? Where is it then?
Well, that was a one-off, wasn't it? I imagine that it was probably.
It probably does if you think about it, because
The mucky air helps you when you want it, and then
No. Just on a clear day. On a clear day,
when you don't need it, then it doesn't exist because that's very convenient for your cognitive dissonance.
It only exists if we can prove that it does. You know, like curvature, it exists if you can prove that it does. Miles Davis.
Why do hurricanes spin the direction they do?
Rave,
the Coriolis
Henry,
effect.
hello?
Speak. Rave.
Too late.
Why do hurricanes want PMAS?
That's a real person, I'm pretty sure.
Is that the real Arif or not?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Speak. You know what it's like. They've got fakes of everything, haven't they? And if they don't speak, they've got to go.
I don't think it was. He didn't speak.
No, he didn't speak.
What were we saying then? I've lost track where we were at. Dirty air, right? So, PMAS, you understand the inverse square law dictates that objects that get further away from you get smaller, correct?
I understand that's a part of perspective or something.
It's just the angular size changes.
Yeah, it gets smaller as it gets further away. Correct?
Right.
So a mountain that's, say, 1,000 feet tall, as it gets further and further away, it seems to shrink to the observer because it's getting further away. It's not actually shrinking, is it? Of course. But to the observer, it's getting smaller because it's getting further away. Yeah?
Sure.
So using your accepted level of knowledge, of proof, logic and reason tells us that the further that 1,000-foot mountain gets, eventually it gets small enough to fit under or in that layer of what we call the dirty air, the refraction layer, the mirrored layer. Because it's got that small, it now sits in it. So if we do indeed live on a flat plane, then any item will get small enough to sit in it. And if you have that layer of refraction or that layer of dirty air, you would perceive that that would be curvature, which is, of course, what Miles did when Miles did his video. He saw the layer of refracted air, thought it was curvature, and then put a video out saying that it was, completely failing to notice that there was mirroring going on, and he wasn't looking at curvature at all.
You just create ad hoc hypothesis to discount what we can empirically observe, and I would rather just go with empirical observations than your crazy hypothesis.
Well, we have empirical observations with the Isle of Man.
Okay, so I've got my screen shared now. I will bring up Miles the Liar Davis, and I'll show you what I mean. Miles Davis, Flat Earth. And Miles Davis went out to debunk me, but whilst he was out there, he did a video that was to do with, which one was it now? This one, I believe it was. And in this video, I'll knock the sound off. In this video, Miles Davis, there's the Sellafield light power plant. I have the exact same picture. In this video, what he did was he found an outcrop of land, which he observed at 3 different elevations. I don't know how he measured 5 meters of elevation. I'd love to know, but I'm not going to dwell on the point. But what you can see is that the land has got this layer of sky that separates the land from the water, and we call that the dirty air, the mirroring, the refraction layer, or whatever. Miles fails to notice this, and he calls it the curvature of the Earth, because when he changes his elevation, he can see more. He completely ignores the evidence that's smacking him in the face that tells him that something else is at play here. Because if it was the curvature, there wouldn't be this band of dirty air, refraction layer, mirroring, whatever we call it. Because don't forget, there is no science for what we call it. Miles thinks this is curvature, but fails to tell us that there is clear evidence of mirroring.
Why do you think the horizon extends in distance as the observer increases in altitude?
Why do I think that the horizon does what?
It extends. The higher you increase in altitude, the longer the horizon is from you. So it grows as you go up.
Because this layer of mirroring that we observe is effectively a brick wall. We can't see through it. It reflects what's above it or below it, and it depends on whether it's an inferior or a superior mirage. In this instance, we are looking at an inferior mirage of the land above it. We see that it's being mirrored below it. And what that's doing is blocking out the thing that is actually there, which is the beach, which is the reason why Alex, Cat Earth, will never see the beach when you're doing over water observations, because there is usually and virtually always some level of refraction. Now, it varies. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But can you see that if this was an opaque layer of mirroring and you can't see through it, that as you change your elevation and see behind it, this is no longer blocking stuff? And this is the reason why Miles thought he was looking at curvature, because he thinks the obstruction at the horizon is the curvature of the Earth. Doesn't realize that he's looking at mirroring the way that we observe it. And me and Nathan and Ranty will sit here, look at it, and Ali, and go, that's obviously a refraction of some kind. So you guys think that it's the curvature of the Earth.
Is it just me, or did anyone else on the panel notice that Riley avoided answering my question?
No, I answered it specifically. It is just you.
I'll give a better explanation. No, I know what you're saying there, P Mars. No offence there, Anthony, but I'll explain that quite simply. The higher you go up, the longer you see. What's so hard about for you guys to understand that? The higher you go up, if you put your eye, if you go down, if you look at a table and go down to eye level, wait a minute, if you go down to the height of a table, right, and it's a long, very, very long table, and you put your eye down there, you don't see the end of the table. But as you come up further and further, you see further and further and further. So I don't see what the point is with them saying, making that an argument. Obviously, you're going to see further further up you go. So what's the argument? It's not even an argument.
Well, the argument is the flat earthers say that the horizon is a result of a vanishing point due to perspective. So if it was a vanishing point perspective, that's because it's convergence and that's the farthest you can see. Increasing your altitude shouldn't make the vanishing point increase because that's the farthest you can see. So it doesn't make
No. We don't have binoculars. We don't have bionic eyes. That's the thing.
Wait a minute, let me get this.
It's highly illogical.
We don't have bionic eyes.
It's the further you see, the higher you go up, the further you see. That vanishing point is only as far as you can see at a certain height. If you go up higher, that vanishing point goes further. It's like basically logic, man. The higher you get up, that's why they stuck a crow's nest in a ship, because you can see further on top of 100 feet than you can down at the bottom.
Yeah, I believe a crow's nest on a ship proves the sphere Earth. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. The point is you can see further from a crow's nest. The same thing.
Well, it doesn't really matter. You can see further.
The higher you go up, the further you see. End of story. Right. There's your answer to that stupid, dumb question that you.
I think the point is, it doesn't make any difference whether you're on a flat Earth or a ball Earth. If you go higher, you're going to see further. If you live on a ball, you're going to see further, and if you live on a flat Earth, you're going to see further. So it's an irrelevant argument.
Exactly.
I disagree, I guess.
So you disagree with the fact the higher you go up, the further you see?
Well, I believe that is due to us being on a sphere, and I believe if we lived on a flat Earth, that would not be the case.
Right.
Yeah, but you're looking through a medium, aren't you? You're looking through the air, and you're also at times looking through water as well, which is from the evaporation of the oceans. So as you're looking through these mediums, it's not like you're just seeing clear. There are things in the way. Particles, those particles build up, and eventually there's going to come a point 7, 8, 10 miles away that you cannot physically look through those particles. There is that much of a blockage, they add up. In an ideal world, if there was no particles in the world and you were living in, let's suppose there was space, and you can get into space and there's no atmosphere there and you can see 1 billion miles away, fine. But on Earth, that's different, right? Different because you have all these particles in the way you cannot see. So taking your logic about space and being able to see infinitely far in space, that's because there's no atmosphere and stuff in the way. On Earth, it's completely different.
Okay, I mean, if that was true, the thing is, The Simpsons mocked the flat Earth, right? And when The Simpsons mocked
if that was true, do you not realize there's pollen in the air? Do you not realize that there's particles?
Here, I'm trying to talk. You're not even letting me finish.
No, you just said if.
Yeah. But you didn't let me finish. You just said, he said if, so I'm going to interrupt him now. Like, what are you doing?
Carry on then.
Okay. So The Simpsons mocked the flat Earth, and they showed someone looking out in the horizon, and they could see to Paris, or like they could see to China. You know, they could see the whole forever because the Earth was flat when they're making fun of flat Earth. So why would they do? So clearly, like you can see forever on a flat Earth. We could see Paris and all this stuff. Or I guess there is a limit of eyesight within the atmosphere is 50 miles or whatever, but it would look like that. The horizon is not the limit of eyesight.
Well, why are you putting a limit on how far we can see? It all depends. If you look at the weather conditions, it will say
you've got cameras that focus in at a certain distance. Our eyes do the same. It's called focus, and our eyes can only focus for that distance. The further we see, the more we can focus. The higher up we go, the more we focus. That's all it is. It's because our eyes are not capable of seeing maybe further than 3 miles. End of story. That's it. There's no problem about it. Even on a clear day, the horizon doesn't matter. Even on a clear day, the horizon will still only be, you might see objects behind it, but the horizon line where everything's in focus will be at a specific point. You can see it in photographs, how the foreground, the horizon line's always like, it's all in focus up until the horizon, and then everything gets out of focus. There's your proof, man.
I mean,
after the horizon line, it goes out of focus. Same with our eyes, same thing.
That's what made me change my mind. I used to think it might be flat, but Shrumanati had a video where the drone shows a sunset twice by just it watches the sunset and then it flies straight up into the air and it can bring the sun back into view. You know, if the Earth was flat, why can't it just zoom in? Why can't it just zoom in with the P900 and bring the sun back into view?
He just go higher up. He's further. It's because it's beyond the P9 or whatever. The P900.
What he's doing.
That there's not proof.
What he's doing with the drone is he's rising himself above that dirty air with the drone. So the P900 still has to look through that dirty air. He's looking at the vanishing point at when the sun goes down. And then when he goes in the drone and he rises up, he's actually taking himself above that dirty air. So he's actually higher than the horizon at that time when he's filming it again. So then the sun will set again to his from the drone's perspective, and it will then go through the dirty air again. So it's all to do with that band of dirty air.
I mean, it just seems more like it would be more logical that it's because of the sphere.
See, that's where the debate is, isn't it? It's what logic you tend to use. You know, you've got the ball earthers and the flat earthers, and we'll always say the same. I mean, we will say that there's particles in the air, and obviously on some days you can see much further, evidenced with Anthony's video when he saw Ireland and Isle of Man. It was an incredibly clear day in that specific location, and he was able to see a very long way. However, that isn't the norm. The norm is that there's normally a lot of pollen and stuff in the air, just stuff in the air that eventually builds up, even low-lying clouds or mist or anything. And if it had been maybe a little bit warmer, perhaps the oceans would have been evaporating more to create the clouds. There's all that stuff that's in the way. And eventually it stops you seeing a particular distance. Even a P900 won't bring it back. And that's why you can't see it all the way around the world. You can't do it.
You rise up above all that stuff when you get in a plane. You know, you're looking down over the top of the refraction layer, normally through clear air, unless you're in the clouds, and then you see nothing. So if there's no clouds, and I've flown a lot, and there has been occasions where I've flown over land, and there's literally there's nothing in the way of what you can see. It's just clean air. How you doing, Warren?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Here.
Good to have you here.
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
Plane analogy.
I listen to a lot of NBA podcasts, and they actually mention flat Earth a lot because of Kyrie Irving. And recently, I think a week ago, he was giving a interview, and he was telling people about doing their own research and being open-minded to different ideas and things like that. And I mean, those things are true, but I don't know. I think being open-minded or having an opinion on empirically observable things is kind of silly. And there's so many lies and deception out there right now with the New World Order. I don't think we really need to add to it with alien conspiracy theories.
Yeah, we're not talking about alien conspiracy theories, though.
Well, I feel flat Earth is similar to an alien conspiracy theory.
Even though we don't believe in space or aliens. Right, okay.
Yeah, but it has about as much evidence.
No offense, Ali.
None taken whatsoever. You know, we're all our own people. You know? So I don't take thing. It doesn't matter to me what people believe. We're in agreement that the Earth is flat. That's the main thing. All the little intricacies and all these stupid little things that people like to pick on and stuff like that. As I say, and I'll repeat it again, is the moon landings, satellites, and thing is, or whatever, is no evidence that the Earth is flat or it's a ball. It's immaterial. We're talking about the stuff we can see down on the ground here. Is what we can see and what you guys have measured and what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. Everything else is irrelevant. The moon, the stars, the sun. It's a whole different topic.
So
different topic. It doesn't prove anything.
PMARS, you're back on the ball now, yeah?
I was a flat earther over a year ago, but when I did the research, it fell apart pretty quickly.
Okay, so and then you just said you just don't believe in like aliens and stuff. So
yeah, I think aliens conspiracy theory comes from the CIA.
Okay, so if we take your model for instance, and we believe that we live in a a solar system universe with trillions and trillions and trillions of planets and stuff, you wouldn't believe that. You actually believe that life is only existent in this world and can be nowhere else.
I think they're potentially lying to us about the universe and how that works, and things way out and deep into space. That I think is up for debate. I don't think the shape of the Earth is up for debate, though.
Okay, so you sort of believe them, and then you, on the other, in the same breath, you don't believe them.
I like to be skeptical. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
I've done lots of research. I'm really fascinated with how people are enslaved and how mind control works and psychology and all that and mass psychology. And so I study propaganda a lot. Edward Bernays, Jacques Ellul are two good people to check out if anyone's interested in that. But by knowing how propaganda works, I feel I can discern truth better because I know how manipulative techniques to get people to believe things. Because evolution was set up. If you study the history of evolution, it was all propaganda. People believe in evolution because there's all this clever propaganda techniques way back in the day. And today, I think flat Earth is just a propaganda technique. I don't think there's much behind it. I know the techniques. I see the flat Earthers using the propaganda techniques in all their videos.
So the term extraterrestrial that was used quite a lot in the 1920s, 1930s. What do you think of that term as a term for humanity back then? What do you think they meant by extraterrestrial?
Again, that is me.
Well, terrestrial means Earth, right? Earth-based. So extra, it'd be beyond Earth, I would think.
Not additional.
I don't know. I saw a document. I actually do believe in demonic entities, and I saw a video that's saying that these UFOs or aliens are demons. I like that theory because if you look at alien abductions are similar to like poltergeist activity. There's like similarities.
How about this then? How about if these extraterrestrials that they were talking about were other humanoids that live on our plane, our terrestrial people, but perhaps beyond the ice wall, if there was an ice wall beyond that, in extra land,
in other puddles.
Sorry.
There's some like
extraterrestrial then.
Other puddles, yeah.
But this is how they might have turned it. If you think back in the 1970s, 1980s, whatever, when ET came out, ET the extraterrestrial, and then they co-opted the term and changed extraterrestrial to mean an alien from outer space. So, of course, I mean, obviously people associate ET, extraterrestrial, with aliens. Aliens as in, from outer space. So see how they co-opted the term and they changed it from what people might have thought about it originally in the 1920s and
Terrestrial
30s.
means Earth, doesn't it?
Sorry?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, say again.
Doesn't terrestrial refer to Earth?
To Earth, yeah. Extraterrestrials as in extra humans. What I'm saying is that when ET came out, the extraterrestrial, they changed the terminology from extraterrestrial meaning other things on Earth, other people on Earth, to aliens from outer space by a film that was produced in Hollywood. So now when you say ET, people don't think of extraterrestrials as in other humans. They don't think of the words. They think of an alien from outer space. And
Well,
this is how
Cheech
they
and
go
Chong termed it extra testicle.
So yeah, it's like
That
the
was a
discovery
joke.
of the
Sorry.
Americas.
Cheech
If you
and
want to look at that in
Was that Cheech
isolation,
and
you've
Chong?
got a
Do you remember
discovery
that?
of a country
Cheech
that
and Chong, yeah,
basically,
that is extra testicle.
yeah. So you've got a discovery of a country
Just having a
that
joke.
wasn't on the map and people weren't told was there, and is
Can
literally.
I just go back to the dirty air thing?
Or you could just completely talk over me. So yeah, so you have.
Oh, sorry, Nathan, I didn't hear you.
All right.
You're
So yeah, the
mute.
new
When I
world
talk,
as they
everything
describe
mutes.
it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So the new world, they called it, literally the new world. So if you go and have a look at the map of Monday, there was no new world on there. They travel across, regardless of whether or not you buy that whole narrative of how they found the Americas, they found it and added a new world with extraterrestrials. Now, as Randy says, extraterrestrials are other worlds, off planet. Whereas, obviously, if we live on a flat plane, I don't know how much I buy the infinite plane because I've got no way of verifying it. But in our short history, you have the discovery of new worlds. And they're not going up, they're going out, sideways.
All right, fair enough. All right, fair enough. Thanks for clearing it up.
It's like the mythology of the end of the Lord of the Rings when they sail the other beings sail off to another island, or King Arthur sails away to another island. There's like mythology of this like place where these beings went.
Well, yeah, Jason and the Argonauts. If you think about him, how he had to go to a different place and find the lamb's, what was it, a robe or something, golden robe, and there was creatures out there that he'd never seen before or heard about, and he sailed off to go and do that. There's loads of in history that it's all that kind of stuff.
I think there could
So,
be truth to that.
I'm just a little confused about this dirty air theory or idea.
Do you do any?
Can we not measure the
Sorry,
atmosphere?
Warren. Do you do any experiments of your own? Firstly, just asking you a question. Do you have a P900?
Have I done any?
Go out filming anything? Yeah.
Oh, the only thing I've done is viewed the moon through the telescope.
Oh, right. Okay.
Really?
See, if you did some
pretty good one.
land-based experiments,
But no, I haven't.
If you did some land-based experiments and you went out for a day and just went to the ocean and just started filming, you would immediately get what I say when we're talking about the dirty air. Literally, you would see for yourself.
I understand. No, sorry, I didn't clarify. I understand what you're saying about it, but isn't there some way to measure it? Because, like we were talking about before, when you see the sun set and a drone goes up or whatever, you can see it setting again. But you're saying because of the dirty air, you can't see it at ground level. You can't see it. You can't see it setting twice or again at ground level.
Well, no, because you're not raising yourself up.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you wouldn't.
The measurements they give us. Yeah. Sorry, Ranty. The measurements.
So it's because of the dirty air that we see it set or go away.
But these things aren't factored in.
The distance.
They're not factored in. What we get is measurements for curvature, which we would suggest is total nonsense. but this isn't factored in other than to bring things back from behind a curve.
Yeah.
I think dirty air is
So
a
if I-
code
if-
word
if I-
for curve in the flat Earth community.
No, I'm trying to understand that if you elevate something up, you can see the sun again. That's because you're leaving this dirty air layer, right? Is that right?
Yeah, you leave it, but then eventually the sun will set again and go through the same dirty air. No matter how high you go up on that drone could go up 4 different times,
So
4 different elevations, and see the sunset 4 different times. But every time it does that, there will come a point when the sun goes far enough away that it becomes small enough to merge into that dirty air.
So we have approximately 30 minutes left on this live stream. If you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live, so toss me a buck or two in there if you're enjoying these live streams. But most importantly, if you would like to join the debate, simply click mute on the page you're watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules. Please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. As I say, we have half an hour left on this stream. Please share the show, as it does increase the live audience, and in turn that increases the chances of a more diverse panel. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate.
Wait for him to finish. Yeah, he's finished now.
Did you want to share something?
Yeah, just present my screen if you would.
Yeah, done.
So this is generally cited as the ball earther main weapon of choice when it comes to refraction. And in it, he contradicts himself somewhat because he claims that refraction is based on the approximation of refraction expected under the atmospheric conditions. He uses this maths, 7.6 r being the radius of the Earth, but he claims it's based on the standard atmospheric conditions. And when you look into the standard atmospheric conditions, it talks about the 4 variables that are necessary to measure to be able to calculate the refraction that we see. Now, essentially, I'll just read it because it's self-explanatory. The ISA mathematical model divides the atmosphere into layers with an assumed linear distribution of absolute temperature against geopotential altitude. The other 2 values, pressure and density, are computed by simultaneously solving the equations resulting from the vertical pressure variation and the ideal gas law in molar form. And what these 4 factors do are they give you a complicated set of maths that none of us can realistically work our way through. I'm sure the Rumpus could magic his way through, but the 4 of us, like the people that are in this chat now, and virtually all flat earthers and all ball earthers, are never realistically going to be able to calculate this because it's a continuous calculation all the time. But this is the science. This is what they tell us, is if you put these known values into the equation, you will get out of it how much the light refracts. And this is meant to tell us how much we will stretch or shrink the horizon. It doesn't talk about going around the curvature of the Earth. It talks about the vertical aspect that we see. And we can see evidence of that when we look onto I often cite this. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but the Skunk Bay footage, we can see what the effects of refraction are over a full day because somebody's got time-lapse photography. And we can see that at the beginning of the day, so like 10:20 when the sun's not high, etc., we're not seeing that much refraction. But as the day goes on, you can see that this starts to stretch and shrink. The land here, this peninsula. You can also see the land in the background does the exact same thing. So this stretching and shrinking is the vertical aspect that we were just talking about with regards to the maths. So in answer to your question, yes, we can calculate the refraction. We need to know a lot of factors, and we need to continuously do it to see what we see, which is the vertical stretching and shrinking on the day-to-day basis, or the hour or the minute-by-minute basis. But it never mentions anything about the light bending around the curvature of the Earth, which would be an important part of the refraction calculator if indeed it was true. So the answer to your question is yes, we can calculate the refraction.
I wasn't actually asking about refraction.
Well, you were talking about, hang on, I'm going to have to answer this call. One sec.
Sure.
Yeah, what was the question again, Neil? What was the question you asked?
Can we calculate the dirty air?
I was curious as to
All right,
can we
okay. Well, I've got
measure
an
how dirty the air is?
Yep, I've got an experiment then.
Is this
What you do is, right, wait a minute, I'll give you an answer to that. What you do is, like, for example, this guy is stood here looking across there, right? What I would do then is I would do what he done, and then I would take a higher position at the same time, maybe go up 100 feet or 200 feet, and take the same view, and then compare the footage, and then you'll get an idea of the refraction.
refraction?
How's that? Well, the dirty air.
You keep saying refraction, but I'm trying
What
to.
do you want to call it?
So is refraction and dirty air the same?
I've no idea. I never termed the phrase dirty
Talking
air.
about dirty air, and you keep saying refraction. So are they one in the same?
I've no idea. I'll say refraction then, to measure the refraction and not the dirty air. To measure the refraction, I don't know what dirty air is. So you explain that to me.
All right. Well,
I don't know what it is.
Imagine it's a really, really, really foggy day, right? How far do you think you could?
You got a dirty mind, Ranty.
How far do you think you could see in a really foggy day?
Not very far.
Not very far, yeah. Okay, so imagine that.
Do you want a number?
Okay, so imagine that the fog is half what it was, so you can see twice as far, and then you reduce it again, and you reduce it again, and you keep doing that formula until you actually get to what you would expect to be a clear day, right? However, there is still remnants of that fog in the air. Might be a particle every meter away, and eventually, all those little particles that you're looking through will create a blockage that you cannot see through. And that's just the nature of the world that we live in.
And that causes the sun to set.
No, of course it doesn't cause the sun to set. But what it does is it gives the impression that the sun sets.
Sorry, it causes the appearance of the sun setting. Sorry, I didn't phrase that properly.
That the sun sets. There comes a point when, I mean, it's if you see some of these. So
it gives the so the sun never sets.
The sun never sets.
It's just the impression of it in setting.
Well, obviously the sun goes far enough away at some point where it goes dark where you live. The impression that it's setting is simply because its angular size changes so much and gets caught up in that dirty air. The best way to explain it. And to be fair, we still don't have all the answers. We still don't have.
No, I can hear that. Yeah.
But this is how we experience it in real life. This is what happens.
I fully understand that. Just that the sun doesn't appear to get smaller when it goes through the dirty air.
But that could do with lensing.
Appears to set.
Yeah, but that could be do with lensing. But if you, for example, if I get a torch, right, and I've got a lens, for example, right, and I shine it, I've got the torch next to the lens.
Making a bit of noise here. Just a minute.
Right, 1 second, then, right. So if you've got a torch and you put it next to one of these, like a big lens, and you look through, you'll see it near enough at its right size. As it gets further away,
so the air acts
it'll
like
get bigger,
glass.
right? It'll get less out of focus. It gets less out of focus, less defined, and then it'll get bigger.
Are you talking about putting a torch next to like a glass lens?
Yeah, exactly. And you put it right next to it and look through it. Look through the lens from, so the torch is shining in your face, so you can actually see or any object. It doesn't have to be a torch, any object. And you pull it away, it gets bigger. And when you look at the horizon, how many sunsets have you seen at a huge sun? Yet for all day, it's been a certain size. It's just been shining its usual size, and it comes to the sunset, and it gets absolutely massive. So there's a lensing effect going on there. There's a phenomenon. It's a lens. So the actual size of the sun's getting made bigger. It's called lensing.
That's true.
Right. Okay. So there's your answer.
Okay. But sometimes when I look up at the moon, it's high in the sky. It's not down low, and it's bigger. It's huge. Why is that?
The moon's bigger when it gets in the But I thought the moon doesn't change size when it goes through its path.
It changes 1.5%.
Right. Okay. So have you ever seen a moon set? Have you ever seen the moon setting?
Yeah, well, not over the ocean.
All right. Well,
Can't
go
remember
watch
if
it.
I've seen one
Honestly,
sitting
I
over
tell
the
you what.
ocean.
And forget about flat Earth and shit like that, man. It is some phenomenon. I'm lucky here. I can actually watch it. I can go to the shore and I can actually watch it. I should take photographs of it, but it's
That's the moon
absolutely.
setting.
See again?
You want to
What was
take
that?
photos of the moon setting?
No, I'm saying you should if you want to see it. It's nothing to do with flat Earth, but it's just a phenomenon.
No,
I'm
I'm a little confused because the moon can be a lot higher off the horizon and be quite large, but the sun will only appear large when it gets close to the horizon. So the moon's doing the opposite to the sun in that
Yeah,
sense.
but that's what I'm saying. If you look at it when it sets, if you go and have a look at it with the moon, and plus you've got to remember, also you've got
Does
to
it get
remember
big? Does the moon get even? Sorry, does the moon get even bigger when it sets?
Well, that's something I've never actually observed because when I've seen it, I wasn't like a flat earther or anything like that when I've seen it. So, but
I've seen the
I'll
moon
certainly go
low
look.
in the sky, and it's appeared a lot smaller, and then I've seen it a lot higher in the sky, and it's appeared a lot bigger. I've seen the sun high in the sky, and it's appeared a lot smaller. I've seen the sun lower in the sky near the horizon, it's appeared a lot bigger.
That's
weird.
Okay.
That's the opposite of what I've observed with the moon. Certainly when the moon is on the horizon, it looks considerably larger. And when I just get a rough idea of its angular size, you hold a fingernail up and just get an idea and then do it later on in the day, it certainly appears to be a lot bigger on the horizon. When I've mentioned this in the past, it just gets immediately fobbed off as, oh, that's just an illusion. It's just because it's near to the houses or whatever you've got in your line of sight.
It's that lensing effect, I suppose.
Well, I don't know. Like Ali, I wouldn't profess to know the answer to that question, but what I would say is that certainly to me it appears the opposite, which is that the moon looks considerably larger on the horizon and then smaller when it's above you.
Right. So do you think it's possible then that the sun retains its appearance in size due to it going further away, but it's going through its lensing, so it's holding its size? Does it go further away?
That was it.
I get you. Okay.
That's my explanation for it.
Okay, because it's going through more air.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It's going through more dirty air, making it lens. That's what you're saying.
I never said dirty air. Don't put words into my mouth. I never said dirty air.
No,
I said it's lensing.
Sorry, I wasn't talking to you. Look, I'm not here to flip anyone's pancake. I'm just trying to.
I use the phrase
that's
dirty
all right,
air.
there's no pancakes here to get flipped. So carry on, mate. You'll get treated with honour and respect.
That was a.
I use the phrase dirty air, and I use it because
That's
there's no science to describe it on our model, on any model.
That's just my Aussie humour.
Hi, I'm a moron. How you doing?
Where am I? You shouldn't introduce yourself like that.
Where am I?
Not in here if you're going to ask questions like that.
Is he speaking?
No, I've already kicked him.
He's left.
I kicked him.
Where am I?
Exactly.
Where am I? Just for the sake of Wazza, I use the phrase dirty air to emphasize and enhance the point that we don't know what we're looking at here.
Yep.
There is no science for what we talk about because the refraction is described as bending light around the curvature of the Earth. And we know that that's not what we're seeing. We know that there's no curvature of the Earth. So we don't have science to describe this. Because what you guys call looming, which is the bending backwards of light from objects from behind the curve of the Earth, we describe that as an inferior mirage. For example, a boat will appear like it's floating because the sky is being inferior miraged below it. So it looks like it's floating in the sky, but actually it's just the sky being reflected below it.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that dirty air per se. I'm just using it as an adjective to make the point that we don't know what we're talking about because there is no science on a flat Earth. It's all based on around
you get some.
Well, how can we get some? We have no budget. I mean, you guys get just for NASA alone, get $50 million a day. I mean, we get like a P900 between 6 of us.
Come on.
Yeah, well, there
There's
you
so
go.
many
That's a
flat
great
earthers. I'm
answer,
sure you
Anthony.
can organise something.
Well, we try, and we just get laughed
How
at
many
by.
flat
Yeah,
earthers?
but the technology, hey, listen,
Well-
the technology is restrictive. The price of the technology is restrictive for us
Well,
to do
how
that.
many flat earthers do you think there are around the globe?
Well, we are the
Well,
minority.
surely
apparently
if
the
we get a
Chinese
budget.
are taught that. Apparently the Chinese kind of accept it's flat.
The
Yeah, a lot of
FE
eastern,
core, I
around the
think
globe.
a lot of
FE
eastern
core
countries accept it as
will
flat, as
have
I
a good
understand
budget
it.
this year.
So yeah, lots of flat earthers in the eastern countries, but in the westernized world, yeah, we're probably very small in number.
But do you think
I
there's
think in
enough that
Thailand
you
as
could
well,
probably
Indonesia, they kind of
you
get
could
taught as
collaborate
flat.
at least? But I'm sure if you had someone that was versed in mathematics or physics and all that sort of science stuff, you'd be able to put something together. I can't see why you need a huge budget.
But
There's
the
a lot
point
of
is,
technology available.
the point is there when we do bring someone on that's what do you call it? It's got the qualifications. All the ball earthers just attack it, so it's no real. I mean, in the end, we don't. It's not them we're trying to prove it to. Well, I've given up trying to prove to them because they won't. The people that we interact on YouTube, these people don't want. They're not interested. All they're doing is they've got a belief,
then,
and
do you
some of them are
honestly
just
think you're-
having a bit of fun. Wait a minute. Some of them are just having a bit of fun, going around trolling anybody, thinking it's funny, which I find a bit. I think if I had the what do you call it, I couldn't perceive of me ever being motivated enough to because someone believes something else than me and actually spend the time or and even my brain power on it. I've got better things to. I'd rather read a book than go and attack someone because they believe something different from me. I don't see the logical reasoning behind it doing that, unless, of course, they think that they're going to save the world, and they've got this so-called messiah complex that we got accused of having. Like maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe that's their drive. They want to save the world from all these horrible flat earthers because, hey, we're such a big group of people. We're going to bring down society with our beliefs.
Well, then do you think your approach is all wrong by making a big song and dance out of it? Shouldn't you just sort of get together, be quiet, work out the maths, work out the science, go, here you go. There's our proof.
But the thing is that's fine, right? But what happens here if we bring it out and talk about it, we get the experts from the other side explaining the mathematics to us, explaining refraction.
I think
So they actually feed us.
No, but you've got to have your experts.
I think the reason Flat Earth is so popular is because we don't have modern day freak shows anymore. There's no like a circus freak show we can go check out, so we go watch Flat Earth.
I mean, you can go into Discord or Earth discussions.
Dude, that's exactly what he's been.
There's loads of comedy out there, PMARS. There's loads of channels there, loads of Ball Earth channels that they just talk rubbish. They're freak shows. You're getting a chance to see people that are psychologically damaged. They're damaged people. The way that they attack and interact with us. There's your freak show, matey. You don't need to make up the Flat Earth's a freak show. The freak show is the people that are attacking us. There's your show. There's your circus.
All this arguing and name calling and all that's all, if I may say, bullshit. Sorry, Nathan, but I think it is. You really just need to, come back with some real, that can't be some real science that can't be debunked, I suppose.
Well, we've got a photograph, and what we've presented in terms of real science is mathematics to account for things that aren't really there being there, which is just complete nonsense. Whereas what we present is just here's a photograph of. We just present a photograph of what's actually there and line up landmarks. I mean, I was going to ask P, what part of what we did with the Isle of Man footage, lining up landmarks on a photograph, do you find freakish?
Pete Shea.
But by your own admission, your whole philosophy is repeatable. Some things that experiments that are repeatable. And then the photograph you took was on an exceptional day, which to me sounds like it's not that repeatable.
Well,
you need to have an
definitely
exceptional
repeatable.
day with exceptional
Not easy
clarity
to
in the
repeat.
air.
That's different, though, isn't it? Being easy to repeat and repeatable are very different things. I wouldn't say it's
This
easy
doesn't
to
sound
repeat it,
easy.
but it's definitely repeatable.
Oh, sorry, Nathan, I talked over you. Can you say that again?
Yeah, it's not easy to repeat, that I'd agree with, but definitely repeatable.
Yeah, well, some of the globe experiments are difficult to repeat. I agree, but a lot of them are easy. Apparently, I haven't done it myself though.
Sure, but they normally revolve around equipment like balls dangling and things of that nature, pendulums swinging. Very few of them actually take place in the real world and look at real world observations like a photograph of an island.
Okay, fair enough. We can agree to disagree there.
Well, we have data as well that you guys still haven't picked up on yet, and it's. I don't know when we're going to release it, but it'll be.
Oh, that's
it'll blow
good.
your socks off. It'll blow your socks off because
I
it
wait with data
explains
three.
it explains your curvature, and it disproves your curvature all at the same time.
Okay. Okay. When's that due to come out, do you think?
Well, I need to discuss it with Nathan and Anthony, and we need to formulate a plan on how we release it.
Okay. So we're looking. Do you think it'll be the
I
next month, or
can't say
are you
when
looking
it will
longer
be.
than that?
I can't say when it will be.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
But
So
this is
No
the
worries.
video that just keeps on giving, basically.
What is your response, though, to that? I mean, you've said we've
Oh,
got no
look,
experiments that are
I
repeatable.
personally. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you said we've got no repeatable experiments, but yet we've spent weeks, literally weeks, dicing up something that is absolutely repeatable. And your objection was, well, it's not easy to repeat.
No,
but...
I didn't say you haven't got any. It's not. I didn't say that.
Well, you did. You said that.
I didn't say you've got no. I didn't say you've got no repeatable experiments.
No, you actually said that it had to be repeatable.
Oh, I said it's difficult to repeat. Yeah, like
No,
the
that's not what
photograph you took.
That wasn't what you said. That was the correction that Nathan gave you.
Okay.
He said, you guys have got to have experiments that are repeatable. And I said, it is repeatable. And you said, well, you sort of alluded that other people had tried and failed, therefore it's not repeatable. And I said, well, it's just difficult to repeat. But I'm kind of trying to gauge your response to it. So we've got evidence of a flat Earth. And it seems that you're like, well, let's look at other experiments, or you've not got enough, or it's not repeatable enough. But we've got one that's definitely repeatable. What's your reaction to it?
Well, I think it's quite interesting. I don't know if there's been any mistakes made. I'm not an expert. But the only thing I don't quite agree with is that there's so many other things out there that tell me it's not flat.
Like what?
So from that angle, I'm wondering whether this is an anomaly or if there's a mistake made somewhere with something or other. I don't know. That's just my view.
Well, I mean,
Well,
there's a reaction.
web page
bear with me a
actually,
second,
right?
Ali. Sorry, just want to get this in. Sorry, bear with me.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's been diced up to the nth degree by people on both sides. People who believe it's a sphere, the Earth that is, and people who believe it's flat. And there's a conclusion been drawn, and the conclusion is as follows. Obviously, the photo is what it is. We can see what's in there. You cannot change that. But the explanation for seeing the things that we see is that we have refraction bringing things that are actually not there, physically invisible to you because they sit on the other side of a curved Earth, being projected up to sit perfectly on the horizon line and look indistinguishable from if you were actually closer and could have direct line of sight with these things. So in essence, on the globe side, you must accept that what is in that image is a holographic projection of the land that sits beyond your view. In other words, you do not have line of sight with any of the things in that picture if you live on a globe. Now, being a flat earther, my explanation is considerably more simple. We see them because they are there. We are just looking at them, and that is necessitated by a flat earth, as opposed to holograms looming and things that we can't see being there. So you kind of have to pick one of the two. It's not that there's any mistakes been made. We've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb, and the accepted rhetoric from the globe side is that you are looking at mirages, holograms, whatever you want to describe them as. In other words, what you see, you cannot really see. So the question is, do you accept that what you see in the images of the Isle of Man are not in fact there, or do you think you can see them?
And I just want to answer some people in chat, because they seem to think that we're withholding evidence.
Just before you do, I want to hear his answer. Hold on, Ranty. I want to hear his answer. Do you accept that we can just see the things in the photograph because they are there? Or can we not see them and we are having a holographic representation of things that are not there and we do not have line of sight with? Which do you pick?
I thought I did, sorry. I think we can see the things that are in the photograph.
Then you accept that the Earth is flat.
No.
That's the only explanation. If we see them, the Earth must be flat in order to see them.
I see them in the photograph, yeah.
Yes, because they are there. And unless you are saying that they are not there and only holographic representations of things that sit on the other side of the curve, which factually is the explanation given by the globe side, if you want to accept that you live on a globe, you must accept that you cannot see any of the things in that picture. They are not really there. We do not have line of sight from them. They are on the other side of your curved Earth. Therefore, being holographically projected up to the horizon line and being represented as though they were there, even though they are in fact not. So do you accept that? And it seems the answer is no. Therefore, you must accept that we only see them, if they are there, because the Earth is flat. Hence, we have direct line of sight with something that is 30 metres off the ground.
I accept seeing them in your photograph.
Say again? Pardon?
I accept seeing them in your photograph.
Yes, but do you accept that in reality they are not in fact there?
I don't know. I haven't seen it in real life.
Right, but you understand the mathematics. The fact is they are not there in the globe. Do you accept that they are literally not there on the globe model or not?
The mathematics would suggest that they're not there, as far as I understand them.
So you accept that you are looking at holographic projections of things that are not there. You are a fantasist, correct?
I accept that. I can see
you accept
them in
that
your
you're a
photograph.
fantasist. It's okay, that's good. Nick L and various other people also accept this complete and utter nonsense, necessitated by a curve that we do not see. But that's fair enough. That's your rhetoric. That's your dogma. Good for you.
Yeah, and
we all have a dogma, mate.
I don't need any dogma. I just see the stuff. I don't need any explanation. I just see it. It's there because it's there and I can see it. It's the end of story for me. For you, it's holographically being projected up from around a curve that we don't see, from a line of sight we don't have. It's a holographic projection of something we can't see. It's complete nonsense, but you can accept that, and I can accept that you accept that.
If that's what you think, I think.
No, it's not what I think. That's a fact. You can try and bandy words with me and say, well, if that's what you think, like the idiots that say it's not holograms when you're a glober. It is. That is a fact. It is not there. It is geometrically impossible to be there. It cannot be there. It is not there if you live on a sphere. The fact that we can see it needs an explanation. Now, if you want to go to maths and fantasy, that's up to you. Me, I just see it because I'm a realist, not a fantasist.
Nathan, are you familiar with a 360-degree camera?
Hold on. We've got Blue Moon. How are you doing?
Hi, can you hear me?
Good to have you. Nice to see you.
I thought I'd join in for a change instead of just listening.
Brilliant. Good to have you here.
I've seen... Oh, sorry.
Carry on.
I've seen a guy in a Hangout, Nathan, take a 360-degree camera and mathematically show that you can see the curve with it. So... what about that? You can observe.
miles. So yeah, with that, I'm going to say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this show. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I'll see you all in the next video.